Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the natural justification for human rights, i.e. the rights to life, liberty, and property. Now, why does this need to be a natural basis? Well, the main reason for this is because throughout history, in the Enlightenment, you had figures like John Locke who established human rights. However, the basis was on God. It was on some mystical source. There is a mystical source for human rights. And this ultimately doesn't work because along with the Enlightenment establishing human rights as objective, it also established or was the age of reason. And through reason, people discovered that God does not exist. So when your theory for rights is based on a being that doesn't exist, your theory for rights ultimately fails. This is one reason. A second reason is because God is an external source. An external source for rights makes your rights arbitrary. It's a consciousness giving you rights. It makes these rights somewhat arbitrary by the dictates of some God. And it also makes it so that God can take these rights away just as he can grant them. However, a natural basis for human rights bases human rights in human nature, which is a much more objective source, and it's not as arbitrary as some external dictates from a higher power. Now, to begin, you start with the right to life. This is the moral justification. Life is the standard of moral value. It's what every human being acts to achieve and sustain. It is the standard of all values. And every human being must have this right protected. This is the axiom of political philosophy, the right to life. Also, we also want to establish, it's in my self-interest to establish a society that protects the life of other human beings, as keeping other human beings alive is in my self-interest. Because a living human being will produce and trade with me, which makes my life better as a result. So, to live, every human being must think, make their own judgments, and act upon their judgments. This is a necessary prerequisite for human survival. Every human must be able to make their own judgments, as reason, man's means of survival, is an independent faculty. So to live qua man, a human being must be allowed to reason for himself. So this is essentially the right to liberty. Now, for an analogy of why this needs to be individual, it needs to be individual reason rather than collective reason. Well, obviously you have the idea that reason is an individual faculty. That's the philosophical justification for this. However, this is an analogy that I think Charles II used when discussing this, a similar thing to what I'm talking about. But imagine that you have 1,000 computers, each one processing information. Now, let's say like some computers run faster than others, some process things faster. So, which is a smarter society, where you have every single computer's information processed through the quickest computer, the smartest computer, or where each individual computer processes information for himself? Obviously, it's where each individual computer processes information for himself. This is the same reason why having a centralized authority for making judgments doesn't work as well as having each individual make his own judgments. This is also I forgot the words. It's one of the biggest problems with socialism, the idea that you can't allocate resources efficiently by having one central actor determine how resources will be allocated among society. It's basically each individual judgment creates resources better allocated. And this is the same thing with making judgments. People make better judgments when their minds are left free to think rather than having some central authority dictate down the proper judgments to them. So, and then the final right is the right to property. And this right stems from the fact that we as human beings have a body. We are both mind and body. We have a requirement to sustain our body as in our physical body. So as a result, we need to have the right to own the results of our actions. This would be our property. This is because when we act for something, we act for the results of that action. We act to receive something from that action because ultimately our action is meant to sustain life, and to sustain our life, we need physical resources, physical values. And this is what property is. It's the physical values that we attain from action, that we act for. And that's ultimately how you live, because you are a human being who needs physical values to survive, since we are both a mind and a body. So we need to be able to own our own property. And that is the justification for the right to property. All right, thank you all for watching. I think that's all I have to say for today, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.